Welcome to Global TV Talk Show. We've had a power issue, but obviously it's been resolved. And I'm coming to you today
Hello.
from Southern California, 7,000 feet above LA at Big Bear Lake. And the resort that we are in had some power issues. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We hear
Okay,
you.
good. But now it seems to be working. So, hey, welcome. Okay, we are recording. We're going to go through this very quickly, and we have our first speaker will be Atika from Sweden, followed by Philip Berry, and we will go from there. So once again, welcome to Global Business News TV Talk Show. This is broadcast number 892, according to YouTube, who's recording all these things. And we've reached, thousands of people, and this show will be memorable, not only for the crazy start, but for the quality and the depth. And the brains who are on this panel today is just amazing. We've had a couple of drop-offs, in fact, a few. Apparently there's a virus in the world out there that hasn't hit us yet, or maybe it did. So you're feeling okay, Heather? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, hi everyone. I was knocked out this time last week. I was in the emergency room, and I've still got a bronchial problem, but I couldn't miss today. So hello everyone.
Well, you sound great and pretty smile. Thank you for being there. Johanna Lennartson in Stockholm, welcome.
That's me. Thank you.
Yeah, first time
Nice
on
to
the
be here.
show.
Yes.
Ben
Yes.
Ben Giebel in Bavaria, welcome. First time on the show. Oh, you're on mute. Yeah, hello. No, no, we cannot hear you. Ben, we'll come back to you when you get your voice. Inigo, hello, welcome. You're in Spain today, right?
Yes. Hello. How are you? Thank you for the invitation. Yes, I'm from Spain. I'm here in Spain, in the north of Madrid.
Yeah, this is so great. Ken Lloyd, Dr. Ken Lloyd is in LA. Welcome again.
Thank you. Nice to see everybody around the world.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Dr.
Good
Michael
morning, good
Gates.
afternoon, and good evening to all.
Dr. Michael Gates is with us from Helsinki. Is it Helsinki today?
It is. It's Helsinki, just outside the center.
Yeah, okay. Welcome so much. Gary Sanger in LA, retained executive search. Everybody, he's the guy that you're going to deal with, perhaps, when you get your seven-figure job. So
That would be a pleasure. I am home of Shohei Ohtani, home of the Dodgers, and all he does is steal bases and hit home runs. And my family and I are going to the game tonight. So
yeah,
if
well,
we
listen,
want to talk
I'm a
Dodgers, or if you want
Padres
to talk
guy.
business, Padres, that JV team isn't bad.
Yeah, you know what? Manny striking out in the ninth inning. That is just a ball buster. I couldn't believe that last night.
He's an awesome player. Great to be
Yeah.
here, Ed. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Stephen Howard, author of 23 books, and the latest one just out. What's the title?
Two just came out a few days ago, The Art of Effective Delegation and The Art of Effective Feedback. So that brings the number up to 25.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, that's great. Okay, I'll do the Kindle, I guess. Ali Shami in Seattle, welcome.
Good morning, good evening, everybody. It's great to see. I see familiar faces. I see also, yeah. I think I've met everybody in the previous discussions. It's great to be here.
If not, use the chat, everybody, and introduce yourselves as we go through it. This will be part of your ROI. The contacts and connections, never mind the good feelings and information, which we're all going to learn from each other today. So, Ali, you retired from Boeing early, and now they're bringing you back in because of all the shenanigans going on there, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of great opportunities out there. So, so yeah, it's good. It's good to be. It's good to be back.
Okay, we're going to start today's show, which originally was going to be live in Malmo, and a visitation with the family in Copenhagen after that. But live and visitation ain't happening. We're virtual. And we're going to do another edition of this in the new year. I don't know when yet, but maybe after you have a good time today and find it valuable, you'll guide me to when that date could be. And maybe we'll even do it in person. Okay, let's go to Tika Ahmed in Sweden. As you can see, she's an executive with Hitachi Energy, which is a worldwide company. Welcome, Atika. Why don't you self-intro a lot better than I just did?
You did a great job, and I'm really glad to be here and among familiar faces and new people. And good to see you, Johanna. You're here in Stockholm, close to me. Yes. So, like Ed said, I'm part of Hitachi Energy, which is a global company, and and we are into power generation, products, services, and technology. Um, and then, of course, as expected, we have a huge assignment population, also short term, long term, and also project based. So, we being a very large and complex organization with its own goals to achieve, how each function actually contributes towards achieving those goals. And Ed really brings great topics. And so the topic that I chose today to talk about was how we tailor our assignments to actually bring more value to the business, the employee, and the family.
Okay, if you would like to show that display, my screen share is open. This is a very interesting slide coming on, and we'll go from there. After Atika and I and you are finished, then we're going to welcome Philip Berry, who's coming to us from Florida. Welcome, Philip, and you'll follow Atika in a few minutes, and we'll go on from there.
Yeah, let me just see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you can see
Okay.
So,
Can everybody read that? Okay. Good. Well, this is great detail, and of course you could look at it later when you review this program. Atika, the stage is yours.
yes, and I will take, because here are all experts, and my take always in your show, Ed, is to bring in a topic and let the experts also give their inputs. And so here I will bring, yeah.
Yeah, Atika, you have a sound problem for some reason. We hear you, but it's a little muffled. So
Okay.
yeah,
Is it better now?
the tone is great. The volume is good. It's just like you're sort of underwater.
Really? Okay. Maybe I should join via phone as well.
Maybe if you have a headset, that might correct that situation. I'm not sure. Seems that my power issue has gone away. It looks like we're strong on this.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
so aligning the stakeholders is the key thing, right? And the stakeholders could be what? Talent recruitment, talent comp and ben, talent assessment, learning and development, mobility, of course.
Okay, maybe someone else can go ahead and I will join in a bit, Ed.
Oh, sure, of course. Okay. Philip, are you prepared?
Well, let's see. I didn't get a chance to see if I could share my screen, but let's see if I can do that. If I
Okay,
can.
mine is open for you.
All right, so
Wow, beautiful. Wow.
I have it set up so that there's actually a
Okay, I see it clearly.
instead of having everything on one slide, I have a slide for each of the points that I want to raise, and I
Okay.
still will stay within the time limit. So one of the things that I've learned, I want to talk about the whole issue of how personal branding improves your leadership impact. And this is for a person as an individual and also from a business standpoint. A number of the things that I've been involved in over the last 10 years since I rewired, from some of my original corporate positions, is that people are trying to do some things differently. And they need to learn more about what they can. Ooh, I saw the feedback there. But what they want to learn more about what they can do in order to move to a higher level of impact. And so one of the things that all of us want to do, whether you're in a business or whether you are working with individuals on an assignment, we want to improve our life, our work, the stuff that we're doing with our teams in order for us to make a new impact. And there's ultimately a point, especially as individuals have moved along in their career and they've also moved along in the business life of their company that they're involved with. They want to change the impact that they're making. That they're doing the same things, but then they're not looking at how can they do something different. And so they want to instill a lot more passion and purpose and meaning in their interactions. And you really do this not by just saying that you want to do it, but by focusing on very specific actions and focusing on very specific initiatives. And that's one of the things that I do from the standpoint of my business coaching and my life coaching and also my executive coaching with individuals. And so one of the things that we find is that people will come into a business or a situation. And so they say, well, gosh, I've been very successful in doing what I'm doing, but that is not going to keep you forever. And in fact, we find that individuals are finding that or discovering that some of the items that they focused on that got them to a certain level, either in their career, in their company, or with their company, with others, is that they have to come up with something new. They have to change in order to make that occur. And so what we want to do is to talk about briefly, how do you change the trajectory so that way you're able to do that? And that's what we talk about when we're talking about rebranding to be better than you believe. It's not just developing a brand. Everybody has a brand. They don't know what that brand is all the time. However, what we want to do is to come up with a new way and a new proposition that makes sense so that people can see you doing things differently and be able to tie into that in a way that is going to improve your impact. And so a lot of times people think of branding as, oh, it's like slick advertising. The first thing they come up with is they say, oh, let me develop a memo, let me develop a video, let me develop some advertising. But that's not really what it comes down to when you're looking at it from the standpoint of an individual. Because as an individual, what you need to do is to really change the strategic essence of your DNA. And so there are things that people can focus on differently. And I see this happening all of the time. And when we talk about a brand, it's really the type of characteristics that give you identity, purpose, and direction. Is your raison d'etre. It clarifies who you are and who you are not. It defines what you will do, what you would do, how you would do it, where you would do it. And that's why a number of the things that I focus on is not just domestic, but also it's global. That's why in my career, I have worked in consumer product companies. I've worked in digital companies, computer science companies, and also I've worked in not-for-profit organizations and governmental organizations. And so by developing a platform of characteristics that enable me to be effective and impactful across all of those domains, I find that I can really succeed. And that's what we want to talk to people about. In fact, a number of people who have a business who are on this line right now, one of the things you might be saying is, well, I'm doing okay from the standpoint of my business. What you want to do is to continue to say, what else can I do differently? And how can I make that change? And the reason why is because what really constitutes who you are and what your brand is the perceptions that people have, and they say this is who you are, but that's only half of this of the story. The other half is the characteristics that you determine are going to give you competence, increase your capability, and that's what we want individuals to focus on from a whole story standpoint. So do others see you the way you see yourself? Most of the time, we don't know from a business standpoint how people are seeing us. We don't understand what that is. And so what we want to do is to focus on things in a slightly different way. So that way we can increase open up the portfolio of perception and vision, so that way we're a lot clearer on that. That's why when I do executive coaching, business coaching, I do assessments that focus on looking at the capabilities of people and then looking at their strengths and also looking at their development needs. And so what you want to do ultimately is to say, what makes you unique? What makes you distinctive? And Ed, I'm still staying within my time frame, by the way, just so that you know, you gave us a very hard time frame, and I'm still staying within that. And if there are questions afterwards, I'll be good. But what ultimately, as we see people in organizations looking at something differently, we want them to understand what is the distinctive characteristic that you bring that helps you in that area. And this is especially when I move people. I have moved hundreds of people when I was VP of HR for different divisions. All of the divisions within Colgate-Palmolive. And I found that moving people from one area to another, when they would move into an assignment, they had to focus on more than just the job. They had to focus on what makes me able to do that job differently than others. So, for example, when I moved a person from Romania over to Russia and then moved that person from Russia over to Brazil, what was the unique characteristic that that person was able to develop? It wasn't just good finance and accounting skills. They were able to understand how accounting operates when you're looking at it from a standpoint of high or low inflationary environment, low inflationary environment. And what do you have? The cost of capital, and how do you manage? Because cash is why individual businesses fall apart. So how do you deal with that? And then you do this as I wind down my points here. What you want to do is to focus on rebranding, because it focuses on, it enables you to highlight who are you now. It's the new you. So that way you can focus on those type of characteristics. Quick example is I'm now on the board of directors of the Louis Armstrong Foundation. And so that's a jazz organization. Well, one of the things that we're doing is focusing on on Louis Armstrong now. So that way we have young people learning some of the arts, so that way they're able to refocus the old jazz into something that enables them to highlight their skills differently. I mean, that's like one example. And also we want to rebrand where we're thinking about a new market or a new consumer base. If we are just focusing on one consumer base, and that's one of the reasons why I went into different consumer bases and looking at different markets, I wanted to see how can I be impactful in those areas to reach people that I wasn't reaching before. The fact that we have 5 generations in the workforce right now, and new generation, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, how are we expanding so that way we are relevant to all of those people? And then as I come down to the last few pieces that I want to say is that how we rebrand when we want to take advantage of new and emerging trends. Some people are afraid of AI. Since I worked my first job in working in computers when I was at IBM, was learning that there are always going to be new computer generations, new information science is going to keep us going. And so what we need to do is to continue to focus on how we can focus and bring about an understanding and reposition our skills within that context. And so therefore, what I would position to everybody is, well, how do you write the new story that is going to be important to you? And that's the last thing that I want to say, staying within my timeline.
Philip, thank you very much. I'm really honored to have you and all this information. I apologize for the power issues going on, apparently. And your message is really clear. So I've got a quick question for you, and then I'd like to invite Dr. Michael Cates and Dr. Ken Lloyd and Stephen Howard and others to also ask you a question, and then we'll go to Atika. Last night I watched Vice President Harris give a speech to the Pittsburgh Economic Club, and as part of her rebranding and acceptable to the business community, whereas in the past, many of you may know, she had different views. And the election is 6 or 7 weeks away, and it's getting pretty interesting, high energy and high voltage actually right now. So Philip, very quickly, without being political, and I know I'm in danger of bringing this up right now, but I think it's just a perfect timing example of how she is rebranding. She's got really good advice, and it must be Steven Spielberg or somebody like that who's putting together the show, quote unquote show, of displaying how she is going to be in the future. And that's exactly what you were just trying to get to.
You know, so interesting is watching, because individuals in the political realm, you can easily see what their brand is. You know, and so for both of those candidates here in the US, you also see it in other countries where, and what happens is that your brand is going to change in one way or another. The way your brand got you to where you are right now is definitely not going to carry you that way in the future. So we see that happening definitely with one candidate. And then on the other hand, we see an individual who is, as you were mentioning with Kamala, she's definitely rebranding herself. That address matter of fact, from the standpoint that she developed the issues to deal with abortion, you know, which was, and everybody thought, well, that's not going to be a big thing. But the fact is that you look at how many people are in the marketplace that really this impacts that people just didn't know about. People were wondering, why is Taylor Swift supporting her? Well, you have young people who are coming out now, and so some people would say, oh, it's just irrelevant. You know, that Taylor Swift would do that. You can't say that people are irrelevant when they have a big musical market and they have a body that they can communicate to. So I think that it's a nice example for us to watch over the next few weeks to see how this rebranding and also how the branding that people relied upon is going to or may not carry them as far as they thought.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that impromptu. This is not rehearsed, as you could tell. So, and it's on purpose, but organized, sort of. Let's go to London.
Ed Cohen style. As those of us who work with you know.
I know we've been doing this 25 years together. So, okay, Heather. By the way, Heather is a business psychologist and the winner of several awards recently for this global research. Heather, you had your hand up.
Yeah, firstly, I wanted to commend Philip because I met him for the first time a few weeks ago when we had a pre-briefing. Some of you guys were on too. And his presentation really struck a chord with me for some reason. And I felt I had to go away and think why. And that happens a lot on your show. It's happened with many of the members that are on here today. It's like holding up a mirror that reflects back to you what perhaps you need to do. So it really resonated with me. And what I reflected on was that my research findings, I have been presenting it in the same way that everybody else presents their research findings on talent retention and dual careers, and it just was coming across as quite stale. I'm going to be really honest with you all here. So I did a rebrand, a mini rebrand, thinking about some of the things that Philip presented. And what I realized was that I was not presenting it to the audience. I was presenting it as if I was presenting it to many mini-me's who understood what I was doing with the academically, with the research. And it really gave me food for thought. And I actually did reach out to Philip to thank him for that, because I now have taken the time, and it takes time and effort. I've taken time and effort to step 3 steps back and think, okay, this isn't about me presenting what I'm really pleased about with the research. This has to make sense for people like Attica. It has to make sense for people like Ken, for people like Stephen, for, you know, for industries that are different industries, different stakeholders, different domains. And I've come up with a whole new way of articulating it. And I think that it now really makes a lot more sense, and it has more impact for my audience. So really, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, Philip.
No, I appreciate that feedback. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's quickly go to Dr. Ken Lloyd in LA.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see all of you. Yeah, Philip, that was a wonderful presentation. And I particularly like the Louis Armstrong reference. Always liked Louis Armstrong from growing up. Hello, Dolly, and beyond. This is Louis. And what a talent, what a set of gifts.
And
totally,
it's a wonderful world.
Oh, it sure is. And he helped make it that way as well. And I think he did rebranding. I think that's, you know, it's easy to talk about rebranding on a certain superficial level, but Philip, you've taken it much deeper, which is where it belongs. It's not just changing a logo, personal or business-wise. It's really taking a look at ourselves, and this whole concept of what got you here, whatever it is that got you here, is not going to get you there. And that's a book title from an excellent book, but that's really so important for us to recognize that if we're really going to look at where we're going in life, we have to look ahead. And if we're just looking backwards at our same old brand, and it's the Buick Skylark or something like that, and it's gone and out of date, as opposed to looking ahead and not doing it superficially, but who we are, what we are, and truly getting to our set of beliefs, and frankly, trying to change our behavior. And in doing so, that will help us redefine our brand. That will get to our attitudes and even to our values if we really engage in profound personal upgraded behaviors. I really like the forward focus that you mentioned in this. So a terrific presentation, and as Ed identified, some great visuals with it too. Those are really well put together.
Yeah, thank you very much.
If I could just briefly talk about one small piece on what Ken brought up around Louis Armstrong is really interesting, because not only are we rebranding the business, which is the museum, and we've gotten a number of awards for that. But also, I was once head of the HR committee. Now I am head of the investment committee. And we are in the process of reviewing new investments that are coming into us and looking at how we can handle the monies that are coming into the foundation, which we you know, it's a different problem to have. We're having more money. What do we do with it, and how do we invest it? So talk about rebranding and business impact. That's what we want to do, is to show the business impact.
Michael Gates.
Hi. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, Philip, and I particularly liked the way in which you were talking that you can't just rebrand without thinking about the direction you're going. And there was one organization I was working with a couple of years ago, and they were having real problems, and it was partly to do with a partial acquisition. And the process of the discussion about branding was actually the most important part in a way, because it made them think about what their desired direction was as an organization. And in fact, what we discovered then was that at senior level, they really didn't agree. They didn't have a common vision. And so it was impossible for them to come up with a brand until they'd sorted out who they were. And actually, having done many interviews with staff, the big question that came up with them, the big criticism was, we don't know which direction we're going in. So the actual process of trying to come up with a new brand, both for employees and for recruitment, sort of corporate branding, raised a lot of very important questions for the organization and its direction. Does that tie with your experience?
No, it definitely does. I mean, you're right about that. As organizations begin to set up new strategies for themselves and a strategic plan, which every organization should have a 3 to 5 year strategic plan that encompasses the way that they want to be viewed and new markets, new customers, new consumers, new revenues. I mean, so it's not like just a flimsy type of a thing. It's something that really is going to help an organization to focus in a different way. And if you are a person who has a small business, how can you be, quote unquote, bigger? How can you be more focused in areas that you weren't focused before? Who else can see you in a different way than you are now seeing yourself? And what is going to be the impact of that?
Thank you. Let's go quickly to Johanna in Stockholm. Welcome.
Thank you, Ed.
So what do you think of this talk show?
Oh, great so far. It's a lot of great things that I have to think about.
Yes, it's
Sitting here thinking
stimulating.
that, how
It's
do people see
stimulating.
me?
And I wish I was a writer, but it's all off the cuff. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do? Tell us about immersion.
Yes, of course. We are an immigration and DSP firm in Stockholm. We do have locations all over Sweden, so we do cover, but I am based in Stockholm. We have been around since 1995, so for a very long time. And if we talk about our brand, as we are talking about branding, how people see you, it's very important for us to provide excellent service and very good quality. And
So you give a total immersion. That's hot word these days. It's almost like going into a sauna. Not quite though.
Not quite, because in Sweden we don't use our saunas; we use them as storage. Sorry, Michael. That's how we do.
That's great. Okay, so how's business? Have you noticed a slowdown?
Not for us, but I know that others have, and I know
Yeah.
that it's been tough times, even in Sweden, of course. We have also been hit by all the tech layoffs that I know that everyone globally has been suffering from. But I've been around and met a lot of our clients now after summer, and I know most of them are recovering and are looking at hiring or hiring slowly still. So I feel like we have better times ahead of us.
Okay, as we go forward, please come back and interject a thought or raise a question at any time, and please use the chat to make a connection. Let's go to Stephen Howard, author and leadership coach.
Good day, Ed. Good day, everybody.
Hi, Steve.
So tell us about this newest book.
The news book comes out next month, and it takes the human leadership concept, which is a people-centric leadership concept, and it applies it in our daily lives. So it's a non-business book, and it focuses on what I call a human mindset, which is changing the way we interact with everybody. Changing, I'm amazed when I walk around shopping centers, streets, and everyone, at least where I live, has their head down. People, and not on phones, just people just walking with their head down all the time. Like they don't want to make eye contact. They want to avoid people. They refuse to recognize that we're all part of one humanity. So this book really focuses on talking about what divides us as individuals should not divide us as part of the Homo sapiens fraternity. So there's 4 aspects to this, and changing your mindset that you want all your interpersonal interactions to be based on compassion, kindness, respect, and acceptance, accepting people. You don't have to agree with them, but you have to accept them as human beings. And underlying this is bringing more harmony into our lives, our schools, our communities. So that book will come out sometime in the next 30 days. I'm waiting for the cover to be finalized. I've got a few beta readers out there reading it. I've got some great feedback on it. So sometime before the end of October.
Very interesting. I want to welcome Ali Shami back to the screen here. Ali and Stephen partnered in a what's turned out to be a bestseller book, and it's about written for non-Americans, Europeans and others who wish to do business or are having a tough time doing business with American companies and American executives. Ali, can you do a clearer pronunciation of that issue than I just stumbled over?
Oh no, you did a great job. You did a great job. Thank you. It's great to see everybody. Yeah, throughout the for those of us or all of us that we work globally, notice that most of the training in the States or in America has been teach how to do business with other countries, how to do business in Japan, in Africa, in the Middle East, and there was not one single book that I did Swedish searches for books, and I could not find one single book that helped international leaders to do business and connect with Americans. And I was lucky to meet Stephen in your show, and I was like, hey Stephen, let's talk. So we started talking, and turned out to be a great idea. And we wrote the book, and we're getting a lot of great feedback from international leaders, especially those who want to get into the U.S. business and market, and looking for some of those things that Hollywood will not teach them how to do business with Americans. You know, there's all these perceptions. So it was a great journey, and it hasn't ended. So that was awesome.
So I invite you or Stephen to use my screen share and display the front cover.
I can go ahead and do that, Stephen, unless you want to do that.
I'm pulling it up now. So give me 15 seconds.
While he's pulling it up, I just want to comment on how great the book is. Having worked and lived abroad and also worked in different countries, I think that a number of the things that Stephen and Ali talk about are really extremely important when you're talking about how to partner successfully with firms, and they go into some of the details regarding the capabilities that one needs to develop in order to be successful in that area.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Philip.
you, Philip. Appreciate it.
One thing interesting about this book is it is resonating with Americans as well. And one of the reasons for that is, and this may shock a few of you, 19% of the US workforce today was born outside the United States. That's
Wow.
roughly 30 million employees. So people working today, Americans working in their companies, are more and more are interacting with people from different cultures, people who were not born within the United States, maybe grew up here, maybe went to college here, maybe worked here, lived here for many years, but they still bring their native culture with them into the workplace. So it's interesting how this book is having an impact both internationally as well as domestically.
Thank you. I want to introduce Joseph McGuire from Dublin. Welcome, Joseph.
Well, thank you, Ed. Great to see so many friendly, familiar faces again. And sorry, hey, Gary. Sorry I missed Philip's presentation. I would love to have heard it because I'm a huge jazz fan for many years, and I'm sure it was hugely informative. So hopefully next time I'll get here on time.
Well, you and Philip ought to get together after the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Joseph is a facial facts expert. Joseph, why don't you do better than I just did?
Amongst other things, Ed, I work with the ancient Chinese tradition of Mianzhong face reading, but I also read people's body language, micro expressions, what people aren't saying. So I particularly work in the area of helping companies with interviews and negotiation, and a few other things as well, but they're the areas of focus. I was struck by something Stephen said a few minutes ago about the book. He referred to compassion, kindness, respect, and acceptance. And that's something I'm seeing increasingly in my interactions with businesses, the importance of those qualities. And they are not just nice skills, they're not just soft skills, they're essential human skills. And I would say increasingly essential for business today. There are so many people moving towards the tech space and with a distinct inability to interact on a human level. And it's impacting on human relationships, but it's also impacting on working relationships, where people are increasingly, again, and it's something I'm seeing, and it is anecdotal at this point, but it is something I'm seeing in terms of the stress levels arising within teams and between teams and management, the lack of those human skills, and potentially it's going to be catastrophic for a lot of companies.
So the issues of nonverbal communications, this is your specialty, and the idea that Stephen talked about his observing people in shopping malls walking with their head down. I'm inspired to go out and look at the tourists walking around this resort here and see how they're walking. I never even thought of that. Thank you.
Can I ask Joseph a question? Joseph,
Sure.
you're what country are you in right now?
I am in Ireland.
In Ireland. You know, it's interesting because one of the things that Stephen and Ali talk about, is the whole thing about people having different ways of taking in information and the decision-making framework. And also, I just think from my working, from anywhere from Chile to China to Cameroon's, that this whole issue, I think, is extremely important in terms of verbal and nonverbal, because nonverbal takes on more of a context in other places. And if people don't understand that nonverbal communication, then they are really, they're going to be in a quagmire in terms of the business relationship. I don't know. Did you see anything around that, or any insights around that you want to share?
Yeah, the cultural differences can be so significant, and it's so easy to misinterpret because we come from where we come from. And we tend, and I know it's a big generalization, we tend to come from where we're coming from. We tend to have an expectation that other people are coming from the same place, no matter where we happen to meet them. I have pretty much a constant education because my partner is Chinese. Her English is still growing, developing. So I have to continually be on alert because it's so easy. And I've learned from experience, it's so easy to misinterpret an expression, a verbal expression, a facial expression. Even one very simple one comes to mind. I said something. In fact, I took a photo of her once. She was sitting having a coffee. I took a photo, and she did this, and I thought she was laughing until I learned, no, she was actually embarrassed. But it's so easy in our culture to think, oh, somebody's finding it really funny. But if a Chinese woman does that, it's an indication she's embarrassed. So there are so many differences and so many distinctions. And if we're going to interact successfully with somebody from a different culture, we do need to educate ourselves about what their cultural norms are. And we have to respect those, particularly if we're in their culture.
Thank you, Joseph. That's brilliant. Michael Gates, please join us.
Hi. Yeah, that was fascinating about body language. One of the things I was thinking of was going back about 15 years ago. I was at a conference in Moscow. Not been for a while, as you can imagine now. And it was people in the hospitality industry, and they had an American guy presenting to them. And as I came in, he was saying, come on, guys, why do you think that the hospitality business for companies is so much lower in Moscow than in Vienna? And Moscow is so much bigger than Vienna. Why do you think it is, guys? He says, because you don't smile enough. You know, you need to smile. Well, In Russia, if you smile at a stranger, it's perceived extremely negatively. It's perceived as stupidity. Germans often, if a stranger smiles at them, particularly in a commercial context, would think that they're actually trying to deceive them. And, where I live in Finland, just the other day, I sent a picture of my son's new class to my sister who lives in France. She's British like me. And she said they all look so miserable, so depressed. And this really shocked me because I've been here 37 years and I thought they looked perfectly normal. And I said, no, they're not depressed. They're just Finns, who are supposedly the world's happiest nationality. So body language and smiling. Just one more comment. I work quite a lot in Thailand and with Thais. And going back to what Joseph was saying about his wife and putting a hand over her mouth. In Thailand, they have, I think it's 15 different words for smile. And so it's not easy to read. There's a smile of happiness, a smile of amusement, there's a smile of scorn, a smile of embarrassment. I can't remember them all, but there's 15 different words for smiles. Well, obviously, it's pretty important to understand what those mean if you're going to be dealing with Thais.
So do you have a slide you want to share?
Yeah, I'll do so. So it was very interesting that the conversation has turned to culture, because that's what I do, mainly teaching. Let me just try and get it on full screen. Oops. Yeah, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Very simple. So what I do is teach culture, particularly cultural negotiation, cross-cultural negotiation. So I do it with my own company, but I also teach it regularly at Oxford, and I'm also a professor at a Chinese university, which is quite recent, and so teach it all over the world. And one of the challenges, as we've been hearing, is that culture is pretty complex, isn't it? And there are various different theories and models that all valid in their own way, but we developed a very simple one. And no model is the whole truth, but I think there's nothing as practical as a good theory. And that's not my line. I stole it from a German-American cross-culturalist, Kurt Levine. And so the way that we've classified cultures is to say, let's have three main areas. And it's easy to remember things in threes. Politicians do it. Sometimes they do it too much. You can use too much rhetoric. But in general, people remember things in threes. And so we developed this model over the last 30 or 40 years. And in the left-hand corner, we've got what we call linear active cultures. And people who are linear active tend to be cool, factual, decisive planners. If you think about nationalities, maybe Germans, Anglo-Saxons, Nordics. Then at the top, we've got what we call multi-active cultures. And they are the ones who are more warm, emotional, they're pretty talkative, but can be quite impulsive. And a lot of the Latin cultures, both in Europe and in the Americas, tend to have multi-active characteristics. African cultures, Middle Eastern cultures, India. And then if you go to the bottom right, we have what we call reactive cultures. And for them, it's very important to listen. The Chinese symbol for listening is made of about 4 different symbols, not just ears, but also eyes, observing things, your heart, your mind, your soul. And so it's a complex thing for reactive cultures. They're very good listeners. And then when they talk, they're often trying to promote harmony. And reactives, it tends to be in the Far and East and Southeast Asia. And many people are a mix. I won't go on much longer. What I would say is that the importance is not just the theory, because any theory, if you push it too far, it becomes absurd. It's just a starting point for thinking and rejigging your thinking. The main thing is how we can apply it, how you can apply it to communication, to negotiation, to understanding leadership, and I'll finish on that. Learning, understanding learning. How do people learn in different ways? For recruitment, for teamwork, understanding where you are, mapping, and then working out how you're going to bridge the gaps within a team to make it more successful. And ultimately, very important, how do you earn trust? And I say earn rather than build, because sometimes we trust too much. We've trusted too much in things like Enron and MCI WorldCom, Arthur Andersen, Bernie Madoff. And so you can trust too much. What you've got to think about is how to really earn a trust. And the three different types earn trust in quite distinct and different ways. You can apply this to also to professions. So engineers, accountants tend to be quite linear. In organizations, sales and marketing people tend to be quite multi-active. Reactives, maybe business coaches, people in psychotherapy, for example, who to listen. So you can think about it in terms of professions. One thought I'd like to leave you with is that we've put about 100,000, well, more than 100,000 people through an online assessment. And one of the things that we ask them is what level of seniority they are. And this helps us analyze the results. So if you totally forget about nationality, what we've discovered through this research is that leaders in all countries have a tendency to cluster in one of these corners, and nationality doesn't seem to play much of a role, except ironically where I'm from in Finland, where people who come out, where most leaders come out globally, are not actually admired as leaders. And the place where most leaders come out is right at the top, multi-active. Why? Well, they're good at expressing bold, simple ideas and a vision. They're quite good at engaging an audience. We had a speech yesterday in the UK, without making a political point, from Keir Starmer, and the headline, certainly in my newspaper this morning, was even his own party members say he fails to engage with us. Multi-actives are good at talking themselves to the top, but when they get there, they can be a disaster, chaotic, making decisions without thinking about things. There's the famous Daniel Kahneman book, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, and many leaders are fast decision makers, but they may make the wrong decisions because they don't rely on information from people in their team who may be linear and reactive. So I think it's quite a useful way of looking at things. And personally, I wish there were more linear and reactive leaders in the world, because the multi-actives can be chaotic. And this is why the Finns don't trust them. Multi-active people tend to be viewed generally as very charismatic. And if you ask people what makes a good leader, very often people say charisma. The Finns think charisma actually is often an indication of a bad leader, because they've charmed you superficially, they've engaged your emotions, but maybe they then make the wrong decisions and get you to do the wrong things. So I think it is quite interesting how you apply. I'm going to stop there, but I hope you got some food for thought from it.
Definitely, it's a beautiful slide also. Thank you for your time and your brilliance, really. Okay, I want to introduce Dr. Sergey Gorbatov, who's with us from Spain today.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Hi again, been a long time. I've seen you and Angela Lane busy on the book trail again. And why don't you, if you want, show a slide focusing in on your new book?
All right.
If you want, my screen share is available to you. And then tell us about that book.
Let me start with the book and why we wrote the book. It's about careers. And the reason why we wrote the book is because we're sick and tired with a lot of advice that is either one-sided or incomplete or contradictory or plain wrong. Like you would hear, good work speaks for itself. Well, that's just not true. Because if it were true, then people who deserve being at the top would have been at the top instead of a lot of politicians running the companies. Or somebody would tell you, just be your authentic self. Well, I fired so many people in my life for being their authentic selves. What if you're authentically an arrogant jerk? And that's who you are, really. Well, a lot of my coaching that I do with my clients is so that they are less of themselves, so that they can be more successful and get more of what they want in their careers. Also, if we look at career, it's an unfair game because who gets to the top? Probably their parents went to college, or maybe they are of certain skin color, or maybe they have certain gender. Maybe it's about who you know. None of those things are merit based. So my co-author and I, we were very much interested in um, providing a roadmap, a set of tools, and putting them in people so that they can get more of what they want from their careers based on merit and leveling that playing field. Democratizing career management, if you want. And then we asked ourselves the next question, which is, okay, the world of work is changing very fast. It's no longer one peak careers, but it's multi-peaks. Yeah? You get to 40, 45, and you're done with your first career. Yeah, okay, so you're director marketing or something, and there is nothing else for you. You know, you're plateauing. You realize that you've hit the ceiling. At the same time, people live longer. So those of you who've read A 100-Year Life by Linda Grattan would have all the facts, but also it's everywhere in the press now. They call it the golden age of the silver worker. So we started thinking about 2 peak careers and 3 peak careers, and organizations are not ready for that change, not in terms of the policies, the structures, nor the guidance, because different employee segments need different ways on how to navigate these new peaks and also the transitions. And finally, organizations need to realize that they need to teach career management. Why? Because if you teach people to focus on their career vision and their plan, they won't be jumping from one job to another, and they will be actually focused on what really matters. If you teach employees on how to create value through goal setting and feedback and learning constantly and being a good colleague, well, what organization wouldn't want that for their employees? If you teach them on how to build networks and to promote their work, well, you're making that work visible. And today, nothing meaningful can be achieved unless you're collaborating and working with others, and so on and so forth. So asking these questions led us to this realization that we don't know what's going to happen in the world of work. There will be a lot of change. There will be AI. There will be geopolitical implications. Life happens. But what we know is that careers happen in space and time. And we know that if we think about time, well, there are things that I can envision for tomorrow. What is it that I want to do? What is I'm going to do? What I want to do? And there are things that you can be focusing on right now, today. You're investing in yourself, something that you can put in place straight away. And also, there are things that are internal to you. So those are your motivations and personality, your skills, what you have control over, and things that are external to you. Something that's outside of your control, things that you can only influence. And that gave us the 4 quadrants of career management: career visionary, value creator, brand builder, and opportunity seeker. And when we looked at the key behaviors that you need to demonstrate, that you need to practice in order to advance your career, well, they mapped nicely onto those 4 quadrants. So if you think about it, well, what do you need to start with? You need to answer a very simple question. What does career success mean to me? What's my personal definition of career success? You're aligned to purpose. And for that, you need to look at what environment gets the best out of you, where do you do great work, what are your strengths, and from that, you build a plan. So to that career destination, you need to have 2 or 3 very robust scenarios that will get you there. And then you need to make sure that you're creating value, because if you have a plan, but you are not creating value, that plan is untenable, it's unfeasible, or your career is not sustainable. So do great work. By the way, we had to rewrite the chapter on do great work because we started off in a totally different place, and we arrived to this definition that great work is defined by people who receive the outcome of that work, not by you. And that became a very interesting chapter. Be rewarding to work with, developing intentionally. Then brand builder. And by the way, we have an assessment, and people take this assessment. And what we see from the results is that the brand builder is the lowest scored quadrant. So many people are like, we have this picture in our minds. It's like a dog that's digging a hole. And you see that there is a flurry of activity, and the dog is doing a really good job in digging a hole, but all you can see is dog's butt. So you have no idea what dog that is. So brand building and really showing yourself and showing your work is one of them things that we need to get better at. And finally, opportunity seeker. We hear very often, "Oh, I don't have any options. I can't move from a job." Well, that's not always true, because people don't know how to uncover the options for themselves, or to create options for themselves, or how to modify the role that they're in right now so that they get more of what they want from their career. So that is basically the book, and one chapter is one behavior. There are lots of exercises. We did lots of interviews and academic research to support the findings, and so it's basically a blueprint for having a career. And if you want, here's a QR code for an assessment, so you can take a diagnostic to see how well you're doing, or even better if you have children. Particularly if they're still trying to orientate themselves in this world of work, that could be a really great first step. So let me pause here.
So this was a tour de force from my view. Yes, Philip.
No, I wanted to tie into something and that Sergey presented, especially the whole piece around what you invest in today, and then also the brand building piece. I always tell individuals, I counsel individuals when I'm putting them into an assignment, that make sure that you make yourself known, build your brand, because the only way that you shouldn't wait for the organization to find you a new job. You have to connect with others and determine where you want to go, and then what you're going to contribute when you do there. So to me, that's like a way to get unstuck. Some people say that when they go on international assignments, and then they feel that, okay, that's the end of my career. Well, the fact is that it's only the end of your career if you haven't done something to build the whole piece that Sergey put up around building your brand, and how do you move on from where you are, so that way you're not stuck and you're not lost. That, I think that is something, in fact, that people who are in moving and relocating business, that they can offer that model as soon as they're there, to tell people that's what their family, to the country that they're in, but they don't often give them some tools so that way they can think about, what do I do next and how do I do it and what are the tools. So anyway, I thought it was very good.
Thank you so much for that. Who wants to talk?
Ed, this is Gary Sanger. Could I go back to Dr. Sergey? What's your lens from your background? What was your background to give you the insight for this fascinating book?
More than 20 years in HR management. I lived in South Africa, Russia, Spain, Switzerland, California, was HR director for Latin America. I did master's and a PhD. So from that basis, we were able to put together something that we believe is both evidence-based but also academically proven. That it's a robust way to look at career management.
Congratulations. I love that perspective. And from the country of California, you have a perspective of what a different planet looks like, right?
Oh, I learned that there were more than one California. The North can't be more different from the South. It was a culture shock for me.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, Ali, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I love this discussion. I mean, oh my goodness. This is why I love to come to your show, Ed. It's just you have all these ideas, all those wonderful passion towards topics, and just hearing Sergey talking and connected with what Michael Gates was talking about, the culture. The first thing that came to my mind, Sergey, is these are great pieces of advice. Who are the audience? What applies for one culture may not apply for another culture. So, oh my goodness, I can see your book be taken to be applied to so many different cultures that could be different. And that's what Philip mentioned earlier in one thing that resonated with me when he said, how can you think differently? And what Michael earlier talked about, I feel when it comes to multicultural, what we're going through is very similar to an infant who learning how to speak. And then they spend the first couple of years learning how to speak, and they spend the rest of their life learning when not to speak. So when it comes to cultural awareness, we are always looking for this particular culture that was shaped based on events, experiences. Here's the best way to communicate with the Chinese. This is the best way to negotiate with the South African. But I feel like the learning the culture awareness 2.0, it will be when not to just jump into the assumption, oh, the person like me look like a Lebanese, oh, you gotta be communicating like a Lebanese. Let me negotiate with Ali like as a Lebanese. I think what's gonna happen is there will be another dimension, knowing when to drop the cultural awareness and or evaluation of somebody to figure out, does this individual that I'm working with, do they subscribe to this particular culture? Do they subscribe to this corporate culture? Do they subscribe their personality, that they are the result of a mix of cultures? So as a Chinese, if I want to go and negotiate with the Chinese as an American, are they negotiating with me like Chinese? I went and I studied a lot about negotiating with Chinese. They're learning the same way too, and now we swapped places. So I think that's the culture 2.0 is really going now beyond. We figure out where the boundaries are, and now it's really important to learn what not to do. It's not do to do or not to do, but I love this. I had to jump in. It's just like fascinating. I can comment on everybody's
Thank you.
heard today, but
Thank
awesome.
you very much. So the beat goes on now. Here's Inigo Lopez, who's a language expert. Welcome again.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, everyone. It's been amazing to listen to all of you. So it's very interesting topics. And I'd like to share a little bit about the way I'm building my personal branding. Hopefully, I will take some of the pieces mentioned about the culture and about how to create the brand and so on. And I may be doing it wrong or right, but I just wanted to share with you. We provide language and cross-cultural training worldwide, mainly in global mobility. And for immigration, we do the shown translations, certified translations, and legalizations. So we are a global entity, and I deal personally with customers of all around the world. So that's the part of the culture. I'm used to go to many conferences, all of them global, around the world. And the problem with these conferences, like the one in 1 month in Washington, Worldwide ERC, is that it's thousands of people. So you can only spend like 30 minutes with each person or less. And it's very difficult to get deep into business or even into personal. Like a few years ago, actually, exactly on the summer of COVID, I bought a camper van and I started to travel the whole summer with my family, my wife and 3 kids. And this is the 4th summer I've done it. And it's funny because on this call, there are 2 people I met this summer. So I went to Munich to see Ben, and I went to Stockholm to see Johanna. And also I met one of Atika's co-colleague in Malmo. I met Stella. So it's funny, we are 15 people and I met in person this summer 3 of them. So in total, I did like 15, 20 minutes meetings in the whole summer. Some of the meetings were just taking a coffee. Some others, we parked on Johanna's house for 2 nights and we cooked together. We did paella and so on. And I met Ben only for like half an hour because there were other things going on. So we sat down on some stairs and we had fun and discussions for a few minutes. So everything is valid, and that brings you to another stage of trust and showing that you are human. And that's I think that's the personal branding that I'm trying to build around me. If you see my LinkedIn, I post things about business, about my company, and about random things that I do, personal things, or fun things I do with people in the industry. So I think all this together makes that, coming back to the personal branding, I think it's important to build your personal branding. And it's not for everyone to have specific personal branding, as I think it was Sergey who said about maybe you don't want to be yourself, because if you're yourself, it's not going to be the best in one topic, in one area. So you have to adapt and create your personal branding that it's not the same for everyone. Like, we are all different and we have to find the most appropriate branding for each of us. So this is
so I just
yeah.
want to interject that you and I met for the first time last March in Manhattan when you were a guest speaker at my live meeting in New York City. And so I thank you. That was an interesting time for sure. Michael, you have your hand up?
Yes, and it was sort of reacting to something which Ali said, and he raised an extremely important point, which is it's important to know when to drop culture. So although I teach this, you have to have a sensitivity, and sometimes it's much more about individual personality. I had a case not long ago with a French guy, and I couldn't get him to do the assessment online, and it was very important that he did it. And I was trying all the sort of arguments that one would perhaps normally use to persuade the French, particularly using logic. And then I use this thing, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but I'm amazed that it's even legal. And it's an add-on to LinkedIn called Crystal. And when you've subscribed to this, you click to the right of the screen on Crystal, and it analyzes the person's LinkedIn profile. So everything that they've written about themselves, that they've commented on, and it gives you advice on how to deal with them. Well, the advice that it gave me on dealing with him was completely opposite from the French. Normally it said be emotional, he'll leave everything to the last minute, and it worked immediately. So know when to drop culture. The other thing that I'd say is very important is dealing with perception. And so one thing that I very often do with teams is, as well as getting them to do a self-assessment, I get them to do a mini assessment on each of their colleagues. And then in the debrief, we look at the gaps between how people saw themselves and how they were perceived by others. And I had a classic case recently with a mixed nationality team, with a French team leader. And the first thing that came up in his self-assessment was, I listen most of the time. So very reactive. I said, are you ready to see what your team think about you? He said, yes. And all his team said, he talks most of the time. Well, this is quite a useful learning point for him. And it's interesting, where those perceptions come from. I mean, they said it's because he fiddles on his phone and sends emails while they're talking to him. But is it also that they were bringing their perception of what the French are like to him, and making assumptions about people because of their culture and not seeing reality? So I think that was a really important point, Ali.
Thank you so much for that interjection. Okay, I want to introduce Ben. Ben from Bavaria. Welcome, Ben.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ah, perfect. Great. Yeah, nice to see all of you. And it's my first time. I'm actually representing our CEO, Alex, who's unfortunately not able to attend today, but it's a real pleasure. Interesting topics. I love everything about intercultural topics, so very interesting, and looking forward to connect with all of you later via LinkedIn. And good to see also some familiar faces like Inigo. Good to have you here. Yes, I'm Ben. I'm living in Munich, Bavaria. At the moment, as you might know, Oktoberfest is going on. I live really close by, and it's always interesting because you can, of course, also see lots of tourists. There are many Americans actually here, but of course also people from other parts of the world. I really enjoy this time of the year. And myself, I am, so to say, the head of immigration and relocation at Visum Point. And yeah, we are a global mobility provider having different pillars. I mean, we started as a visa provider, like the name is saying, Visum Point, which means visa point. Yeah. Then, of course, the company was founded in like 13 years ago. Then we saw the need of clients to also they needed help with the relocation, immigration part, and of course legalizations. We're helping. We're actually working also closely with Nigo. I can recommend his services. And here in Europe, we also have the topic posted workers. For example, when German company is selling a machine to some Spanish company, of course, it needs to be installed, and then you need to post them, and you need to follow the rules of that country you're going to. Yeah, this we are doing. And yeah, today I just wanted to talk a bit about, yeah, the skilled worker gap we are facing in Germany, but also in other countries, of course.
So I want you to please display that slide.
Yeah, sure,
that you showed me yesterday. Yeah, I think it has two parts to it.
Yes,
so this is
correct.
called workcation, but it's all one word, workcation. So that means work from anywhere, or are you still trying to recruit in person?
You know, the workation is another topic. It's true, I don't have this slide ready, but can you see my screen?
Oh, okay, that's fine. No, I cannot. Oh, yeah, okay, it's coming on now.
Okay, but talking about
Okay,
workation,
that's
this
it.
is also like a big trend, of course, for many different companies, and I would say workation started actually during COVID, I would say. Yeah, of course, normal work life changed, habits changed, everyone was working from home, and then of course people took advantage to work maybe from other countries. Yeah, as Inigo is also doing with his camper van, which is a great possibility to travel and work, to combine these two things. But depending on where you're going, of course, you need to consider, what do I need, like health insurance certificate? Do I maybe need a visa? Do I need a work permission? And this is also something we are solving. It's a new service we brought up, and it's also available on our platform. So it's also kind of automated, but always with the human touch. And this is a quite interesting topic. And like here in Germany, I'm speaking always, I'm always asking our clients, of course, how they see this kind of add-on, because in the end, it's also a benefit, but it's also about retention, right? Talent retention. Unfortunately, there are many German companies who are not that open. I would say more like the younger generation, like startups especially. Yeah, they have it in their DNA. For them, it's not a big topic. They will allow it. Of course, they have all different policies. From 30 days you're allowed to work abroad per year, or some others are allowing 90 days. But we have clients who say it's not a topic for them. Yeah, and they see in the long run, it's definitely also closing the topic here, coming to the shortage gap to attract talents. Yeah, because nowadays, yeah, the whole word employer and talents, employees changed from my point of view, and this is a big benefit, and also we're like working remotely. Yeah, so it's a big topic, and if you're not offering this kind of benefits to your employees, they might look for some other employer. Yes, this is about
Thank you.
workation. So you caught me. Yeah, you caught me. I was not prepared for that.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
okay. Well, I'm just plain business announcer here.
Yeah, but we can talk more about this. I mean, we are also running out of time, I think. I can keep it short. But if you're more interested to talk more about vocation, happy to do so.
Yeah, take a minute.
Okay.
I welcome
Yes.
it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so vocation, working from abroad, as mentioned, important topic to attract talents, which is now coming to the main topic I just actually wanted to talk about is like the shortage gap in Germany. I mean, many countries are of course facing similar situation as Germany, but Germany, because I'm based in Germany, wanted to take as an example. Of course, in Germany we have a demographic change. Yeah, so at the moment Germany needs more or less around 2 million international talents, which are needed on the employment market. There are different key industries like hospitality, education, healthcare, nursing, IT, engineering, where these people are needed. Yeah, and some call it the war of talents. I don't like the wording like war, but it's a big competition around the world. And of course, Germany was sleeping a little bit the last couple of years. Germany things are taking long, and also the mentality needs to change. It's slowly changing. My point is that of course in Germany you speak German. Now, of course, there are also jobs where you don't need any German language skills. However, of course, it's more attractive for talents from certain countries to go to the US or to the UK, to Ireland, where you can speak English, because English is, of course, the international language. And Germany itself, as a society, needs to change the habits, change processes, because it's a very bureaucratic country. The immigration process is a challenge. To get qualifications attested and legalized is a big challenge. The language, as mentioned, also maybe the regions in Germany, because we have many well-known companies who are not in the major cities, we're more in the countryside. So there are different things, and it's necessary to bring international talent to Germany. A lot of companies only started right now to change their mind and to really recruit also internationally. And it's I try to always act as an ambassador for Germany, and also to support like the change, because in the end I think we need to fully change, because the culture was always more like no. Less international talents, yeah, but in the end we need more, and it needs to become more like a welcome attitude. Yeah. And yeah, of course, we as a provider in immigration, we can also help with the recruiting, because it's quite fascinating to see how the industry is also changing, yeah, or what new kind of side business are happening. You can see in Germany many companies who are either doing like international recruitment on nurses, or on technical workers only. Some are combining it with relocation and immigration services. Others are more focusing on intercultural needs. Others are focusing on spousal support or local integration into the society. And it's very interesting, and I love this kind of field. And of course, yeah, we are also here to help, and we do now also the recruitment. We just started with that. We do it the other way around. Normally you are a recruiter, and then you do maybe the immigration. We are the immigration provider doing also kind of the recruitment process nowadays. And we have all the different services I mentioned. We have in one platform, which is convenient for clients, and we are helping them in the end from A. We could help from A to Z, from the recruitment, the immigration, then the settling in Germany, also intercultural aspects. Of course, we are not doing everything in-house, because we cannot be the subject matter experts for everything. And then maybe also people like, or companies like Inigo's company is coming into place when it comes to intercultural training, for example.
Well, thank you very much. This has really been education, for sure. And there's so many cross-cultural issues that have arisen here. And we're not done yet. we got around 12 minutes left. So Ali, quickly,
Yes.
you had your hand up, and
Yes.
thank you for that screen. Ben, if you could take that down now, please.
Sure.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
yeah, I'd love to talk about one thing that's very related to what Ben talked about, and unless I'll be taking somebody else's turn, I don't want to jump in front of anybody.
No, go, and
Okay.
then we need to go to Atika.
Awesome. And that's one of the self-awareness, I mean, the awareness of what the country is going through. I loved what I heard from Ben. And with diversity, and question that comes to mind is diversity. What could diversity go wrong? What and how diversity could become a drawback in organization? And I just want to share one of the, I haven't posted on LinkedIn, but I put this chart together yesterday. So, let me let me see here.
And while we're waiting, Heather, if you would like to sum up about your dual career award, the research paper, that would be great.
I think Inigo, you've been shortlisted for the EMEA Awards, and I've been shortlisted for the Thought Leadership category. So you can imagine I'm thrilled. So it's my 5th shortlisting this year for Peace of Mind on the Move, and I've won 3. And I'm just a small one-person, one-man band freelance consultancy. So you can imagine I'm thrilled, but I'm up against huge, big players. I'm not holding out much hope, even though I'm an optimist, but I'm thrilled with what I have. And I'm really pleased to be recognized, first of all, as a woman, and also to be representing a voice that's very rarely heard in the assignment space, which is that of dual careers. So, and congratulations, Inigo. I don't know if anyone else on here has been represented as well. So, yeah.
Yes, congratulations. Yes, Johanna.
Yes, no, I was just going to say that we are nominated as well for 2 Emmy
Oh,
Awards for Best
well done,
DSP
Johanna.
and Immigration Provider. So I'll see you
Well
there.
done.
And I
Thank
welcome you all to use Global Business News as your public relations vehicles. So let's continue, Ali.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. So really yesterday I was just thinking, and I wanted to see, I had a discovery about good cooking. And you're gonna say, what's the relationship of diversity with cooking? You're gonna find that out at the second slide that I will put in there. This is not a, looking at diversity as a great way to be more effective in organizations, but if it's not done right, it could be a drawback. And I've seen it in my organization and in my experience for the last 30 years. I see 2 dimensions, the diversity and inclusion. And those 2 are so important. Diversity without, or inclusion without diversity. Here you have this group think. You have a team of 10 people that think exactly the same way. You don't need 10 people. And usually in a group think, we know it's very efficient. It's quick. There's no conflict. There's nothing. But most of the time it come up with either wrong decisions or decisions that are perfect for the wrong audience, for the wrong customers, for the wrong suppliers. It's a quick way to do the wrong thing. And so if it's on the inclusion, most of the time I feel like, you know what, I don't want people to have, I don't like diversity of thought. I like to have the people to like each other, to look like each other. It's just much quicker. It makes sense, blah, blah, blah. This is what happens. So you get the group thing. Now, on the other way around, if you look at diversity by itself, it can be, if it's only on diversity, if all my intent is to bring people that think differently and do not look for ways for how I can create that inclusion, it become also inefficient. It's not resilient, and it's hard to agree. And you have so many different conflicting ideas. And so how can we transition? How can we get the best out of this? And I think the solution is communication, is really having to be on that 45-degree line where you can be doing the right things right. Anywhere it tips from one side where you have only focus on diversity of thought, and if you don't have that communication skills, is going to be a drawback. So this is how I feel it's kind of like the Japanese. They talk about the best way to take a tree from a garden. You don't go and you snatch that tree away and just you go plant it somewhere else. You go and you dig around the roots, you take care of it, you make sure, and then you transition it to another place that has very similar soil a little bit. Eventually it's going to expand and become part of the whole environment. But what can be done for that person to feel like I have this psychological safety, I'm proud of my culture that I have. And so you're gonna, I know in your mind it's like, okay, you gotta go back to cooking. So my discovery about cooking, I was thinking yesterday, I was like, why is it sometimes when I cook, it's just sometimes the food is just so good, and there are times it is terrible. And I found out there are three factors: the ingredients, the process, and am I loving what I'm doing? You can always tell if a chef loves what they do, they're going to do everything they can. And the similarity with this is the last slide, by the way. The similarity with diversity and have this strong multicultural organizations, you got to find the right ingredients. If I want to make a best cuisine, the best cuisine cannot be made with only one ingredient. You want that diversity, right? You want to take care. You want to make sure the tomatoes is right. All the ingredients are really, really good. You bring them together, and how you mix it. And this is where the inclusion and the communication, that process is so important. And the only way that you can come up with the best ingredients and come up with the right process is to have that passion and that love towards the human being as the employees as a human beings, and try to make the best out of this. So it's not an easy thing to do, and a lot of times people just take one way. They always go with the inclusion. Groupthink is the best way. I don't want to deal with it because it's just diversity of thought is tough. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
I love it. Okay, will you cook a meal for me?
I can make the best. I'll make good hummus. My wife says that I make good hummus, so I'll make some hummus.
Hey, I was wondering what's his favorite meal there. That's great.
So let's all meet in person, and Ali, you can
Come
cook.
on to Seattle. Come to Seattle. The last time you were in Seattle was what? 4 years ago, 5 years ago, Ed?
Yeah, I think so. Too long. Yeah, pre-COVID. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, Atika, thank you for hanging out, and let's go back to you, Atika.
Yes, and it was very good that okay, let me okay, this I
Ali,
have to
take down your
yes,
slide, please.
so I was
Thank
saying
you.
that it was actually very good that I do it at the end, because everyone actually sorry, where did it go?
Yeah, if you can enlarge it a little
Now,
bit, it'd be great.
yeah, now I will just put it on screen share mode. Yeah, now you can see the screen, and you can see the topics. You can see the screen now?
Yeah, that's good. We
Yep.
can see it.
Okay, so stakeholders. So do you organize the stakeholders, or does someone help you do that?
Come again?
The stakeholders are multiple people. So do
Yes.
you organize them all?
Yes, exactly. Because when we are talking about the assignment in specifically assignment, then the stakeholders are the line managers and HR community, and obviously the talent partners who are involved, and the service providers, and obviously the global mobility team. So we become all the stakeholders. My take on the topic was that how we all come together to make to to ensure that we have a good policy to promote international assignments, because what we are seeing now is a dip in international assignments, and nobody is actually able to, because the data is not very specific, and it depends on the industry that you belong to. But there is definitely a downturn. Maybe it was after pandemic and it is not picked up, but there is definitely a dip in long-term assignments, at least. And it has been it is kind of, the fingers are pointing towards the change in the demographic balance, and that was something that Philip mentioned initially in his talk, and that is so important that right now we have to focus, because we need to see and it also streams into the branding also, because we are going to brand, if I talk about my company and our policies, we have to definitely rebrand our policies and the message that we are sending across based on the new workforce that is going to be there. Like I mentioned to you, Ed, it's like 25 to 30% in the coming years is going to be the Gen Z and Gen Alpha and the workforce, and the percentage is going to increase further. So there is going to be a big transition, and what we need to focus on is what works for this generation and how can we make everything come together, because obviously the rest of the workforce is also there. So then we need to have this generational bridge. And when we talked about communication, Ali, you talked about communication, which is so important. And also others also in the discussion talked about communication and how collaboration should work. And that is also very important, that we cannot just focus on the new generation and forget that we have such experience and wealth of information in the in the workforce that we have. And therefore we need to build in mentorship programs in the international assignments, and like we talked about also career development. Sergey talked about career development, and the career development at the moment, it's like passe. It's like a byproduct. Okay, you go on an assignment, you will come back. Maybe you will come back to a bigger position because you've got such a good international experience. But it is not woven into a strategy per se, and it is it's like very it's like an exception that companies have it, not as a strategic plan as part of the international assignments. So so there are many points that I have mentioned and that are very important going forward in building our brand for attracting more talent and more people to international assignment, to accept international assignment as the way of working. And there also, again, we talked about flexible policies, flexible work environments, hybrid workplaces. And it's not only remote work, because remote work, like we also discussed, remote work brings with it, it is for a shorter duration. It brings with it compliance challenges. So we need to, as an organization, have the possibility and the openness to accept employee-driven international remote work assignments and also company-driven virtual assignments, and how to make it happen in the best way possible. We also need to look at customizable assignment packages, because now the workforce is actually, the international assignees, they question that why can't I, if I don't have school-going children and you have a benefit for schooling, and someone else gets the 3 children covered and I don't even get an extra on the housing. We need to have those we need to be able to have customizable policies and have that leg room to actually do things for employee satisfaction and also, promote international assignments. So yeah, there are all these topics about cultural experience and diversity. That is also one very niche demand that people have now. And you must have obviously seen the more about it and more demands from the industry. And that is what we are also seeing, that people do not just want a tool for cultural training. They want more in-depth cultural support, and also because they want, with the international assignment, they want to experience the culture and also the diversity in the new country. also a very important point is the family support as part of the relocation package. And that's something that Heather, you and me also talked about, the coaching, and that is such an important part of the conversation that we have on international assignment. That like Heather said, that it changes the like when me and Heather talked previously about it, not in this forum. So it changes the entire and changes the communication entirely with the assignee.
Game changer, we said. Game changer.
Yes, yeah, game changer. Yes, exactly. And I recently I did something, and it was only for spousal support, Heather. And from the point that the assignee was like really not so sure about it, to yes, accepting it and looking forward to it and looking forward to the support. It was just spousal support, but it really changed the conversation. And if we have something like a consultations and like what you are doing, Heather, that would be just amazing. So there is such great work going on from all your people's side and such great thoughts. And this is just like a culmination of everything that I've heard. And it would have been more like a summary of what we've talked about in some way. But yeah, so these were my points for how we can have a more enriching experience for the employee and family at the same time. And obviously, that is directly proportional, that if the employee is happy, then we have a successful assignment. And then successful assignment means that we retain the employee. Otherwise, there is a statistics that that says that almost 20 to 30% people who come back from international assignment within a year or so, they leave the organization. And that is telling of how we need to change our policy and how we build in a package to bring in everything that will go towards employee satisfaction and a successful assignment. Yeah. So that's
Atika, that
yes.
is just blue chip, and thank you very much. It's wonderful to have you and your perspective as a summarizer, if you will, here. And I just want to tie this together because we really should end this thing soon while we're still happy together. So, I want to ask Philip Berry because he's managed international talent for so many years. So, Atika, doesn't it make sense to add a coach assigned to that international person as they're coming close to the end, let's say 12 months out, where they can maximize their skills and the community and integration and display what they've learned back to the company in an organized manner that the coach could help facilitate so that that talent feels that the company cares about them and wants to retain them. Philip, is that logical?
Ed, it's not only logical, it's required. And in fact, I think, first of all, Atika, when you put together all of the elements that you have there, maybe just to tie it all together. And at the end, matter of fact, it was really very good because in my 40 years working inside of companies and moving people around. And so you said that there are people who have been on assignments, maybe 30% of them. I'm trying to remember the exact statistic that you used, but you said that, after a short period of time, 30% of them will leave. They will
20
leave.
to 30%.
20-30%. If they do some of the things that you put in place, Atika, then you will be able to retain them. And I found that based on research that we did at Colgate-Palmolive, that we were able to use a number of the factors that you have there, and that enabled us to retain, and further develop all the way up to the CEO of the company now. that we were able to do that. And I think that where Atika has on the last piece there, where she talked about the career planning piece there, I think that to tie in what you were saying, Ed, definitely you should have a coaching situation built into that. I mean, it would be a sine qua non, for example, to help to ensure that you get a return on your investment. You can't get a return on your investment unless you do that. And Sergi earlier, I believe, talked about if I'm getting some stuff mixed up here, forgive me, but where you talked about the brand and where a person needs to, they're just focusing on the job, but they need to focus on connecting with people. I think that that's the way you lay all of that and tie a number of those pieces together so that people learn also the nonverbal skills that they need to have. They understand what it's like working with people in different cultures. You prepare them for their next move by being able to have a coaching assignment in place. I think it's great. I'd be glad to work with anybody a little bit further on helping to define that. But you're spot on it.
Dr. Ken Lloyd. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Ken Lloyd.
I just wanted to thank all of you today. I think that this focus, particularly the forward focus of all of your comments for individuals and for organizations, and Sergey mentioned even for countries, to look to the future and really just determine now where we are, where we're at, where do we want to be, where do we want to go, and how do we get there. And the comments and insights from Philip and Atika and Joseph, Michael, all of you have just been so excellent today in helping all of us learn more about let's look at ourselves and then let's really look at tomorrow in a productive and positive and constructive way. So I think very, very valuable session. Thanks to all of you.
I'd like
Thank
to
you.
thank
Dr. Michael Cates, would you like to sum up? Oh,
Yeah, no, I think it's been absolutely
I think
fascinating. Can you hear me now?
yes, thank you.
You can. Yeah, no, I think it's been absolutely fascinating. Lots of different perspectives, and I think I've learned a lot. And thank you for putting it all together. Thanks, Edwin, for inviting me.
Oh, okay, thank you. Joseph McGuire, thank you for being there.
Oh, well, thank you, Ed. It's always great to be here amongst a group of A-listers, and I'm quite real about that. And just going back to something Michael was talking about earlier, the Chinese symbol for listening, it involves, as he said, the eyes, the ears, the heart, the mind, all combined together. And this has been a wonderful example of us being willing, attentive listeners. And hopefully we can all bring it into our organizations and the people we work with, both personally and professionally from here, and be the models for that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So you'll all get a copy of this program after I do some editing. Sorry about the sound issues, but I'll also send you the notes that you could see there. So there's some kind of a transcript. You never really know how well AI is going to interpret what everyone was saying. So beware. Gary Sanger, so there's a lot of talent here for you and your corporate customers who hire you.
Well, the alliances here are fabulous. And I really take away the headline of very simply this: why we care. So it's, to me, why the company cares about you, your employees, your team, why we in our firms, we care. And it really defines how we care. And I think you've done that magically here. And I'm just delighted to be a part of it. Hello and goodbye, and have a wonderful time, each of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick note. HSBC has hosted us in London for 3 times. There'll be a 4th time in the first quarter. And HSBC in New York is almost finalizing, not yet final, but almost, a New York event coming up in early December. So really happy to do those, of course, honored. Next week, we're going to do an unusual broadcast starting at 5 p.m. in California. It's 9 a.m. in Tokyo, and we'll be interviewing recently hired Michael Piker, Senior Global Reward, who's now based in Tokyo with Shizeto, which is a luxury fashion brand. So we're going to do that international interview, and it's open. There's no toll gate, no registration fees. We live and pay our bills through sponsorships and memberships, but registration is always free at our conferences because otherwise we wouldn't be able to have all you here. I know that. And so, and I wouldn't be able to build an audience. And this is going to go a long way to helping me build a bigger audience for global business news. So thank you. Let's end this and go on. Cheers. Heather, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
Phil,
Bye,
be well.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.